So we just learned how to use async tasks to download data in the background. We download data in the background because we cannot download it in the main thread for two reasons. Number one, it is not a good idea. The main thread has to do multiple things. It has to respond to the user events. So it cannot be used to do a task for which the time may be varying from 1 to 10 seconds or maybe 100 seconds or maybe even more. In fact, the Android prevents you to do a download in the main thread and it throws an exception. And the intention behind that is that you do not engage main thread in any activity which takes a longer time. So this is a very important feature of Android. Sometimes you may have seen a dialog application not responding when you are working on the Android. That happens when the Android system detects that the main thread has not responded. And in that case, the application is forced to close. So it is also your responsibility as a developer to make sure that nothing which consumes time is done on the main thread. So this is what we learned earlier. Now we will move forward and we will try to fetch some data from the Flickr, and we will be using JSON. JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. It is a format that is very popular nowadays for web services, and many web services offer their interfaces in JSON format. So Android already includes a standard org.json package which has classes that provide simple access to creating and parsing JSON text. So you can read more about JSON at json.org, but instead of reading, let's write some code and see how we can use the JSON. And in your free time, you can go and read more about JSON. So JSON normally is a format which defines everything as a key value pair, as soon you will see. So the Flickr, just like any other websites, also offers a Find JSON API, and all the details that you need to find out that what those APIs are available on the Flickr website. So let's open it and see that what those APIs are. So the website is www.flickr.com/services/API. Now if I type this, then I get all the information about the Flickr APIs, and you can see that in the response format JSON is written here. If I click on it, then it shows that a simple object representation in JSON. So my request for to you is to go to this website and try to go through different fields that are given. This is the website, the www.flickr.com/services/API. Now, let us look for something called REST. So because we will be using the REST to communicate with the Flickr website, the REST stands for Representational State Transfer. This is beyond the scope of this course, but RESTful web services are created so that you can interact with them using the HTTP methods. So using the vocabulary of HTTP methods. So all the RESTful web services can work by just get, put, post, delete methods which you have learned in HTTP. To know about the REST endpoint of the Flickr service, we look for the request format and then we look for the REST. We open it, and here you can see that the REST request format is given. So this is the REST request format given for the Flickr service. Now, after knowing the REST request format, the another thing that I need to know is that what kind of method I can invoke. So the only functionality that I currently want is to know about the recent photos. So I go back to the Flickr service and I look at the API methods. Then I go to the photos, and in the photos I see something called get recent. So in the photos I see get recent. I click on it, and this is the method that we require. It takes that we will execute to find out about the recent, returns the list of latest public photos. So we will get the recent list of latest public photos. Let us look at the arguments of this method. So it says something like API key required. Rest of them are optional. So what is an API key here? Well, you will need a key to execute this method. So how do we find out that key? So we go back to the Flickr Services API, and on the top you will see a link called API key. So you can see that the link is here, API keys. I click on it. This will require you to sign in using a Yahoo sign in. I have already created a Yahoo sign in for me, so I can directly log in. But in case you do not have a Yahoo sign in, please create a Yahoo account so that you can also look at your API key. So once I come to this page, I click on get another key. I then choose the non-commercial. I then give the name of my app, and then I can just say a simple mobile app to view the photos, and I agree, press submit, and here it is. I have got the key and I have got a secret. Now for this particular purpose I do not really need the secret, but anyway I will just note it down. So I copy it and I make a note of my key and my secret. Similarly, you will get a key. Please do not try to use the key which you see here. The keys will be different. Now I have got my key and I have seen my get recent method. So once I have got the key, I will have to create a proper get request to the REST endpoint that I saw, and hopefully I will be able to transfer the data. Now that we have got our key, we have to run, but before running it, we have to create the right URL. So the way to create the right URL is to check the REST endpoint. So let me go back. So I'm going back, and now if you go to the REST again, you can see that the REST endpoint is this, that is starting from HTTPS till the rest question mark, then the method, and after the method we will give the name of the method that we are calling. So currently we are interested in only calling a method which is about the get photo recent. So our method would be flickrs.photos.getRecent, and we will be calling it by giving our API key, which is an argument. So there would be an argument and API key equal to our REST endpoint, and then we will have to also specify two more variables. One is called format and another is called no JSON callback. So we have to describe the format to make sure that we pass the information that we want data in JSON, because by default the data is in XML. By default the Flickr response is in XML format. we want it in JSON format, so we have to specify the format as JSON, and we have to also say that no JSON callback is equal to 1, so that the Flickr can understand that it has to exclude the enclosing method name and parenthesis. So eventually our URL will look like something like a combination of the REST endpoint and the API uh, key, and then also the two different arguments that we give. So let us go back to our code and write what the URL will sort of look like. So let me go uh, to the code where we were downloading data from Google and from other places, but now we can give the actual path. So this is not the right project. So we go to the Java Flickr fetcher and then in the photo gallery fragment. So here we will give our new URL. But before that, let me type that URL into the browser so that you can understand what that URL looks like. And I will show you an example here, which I have already done. So this is the URL that I have typed. So it is api.flickr.com/services/rest/question mark. So till here there was the REST endpoint. Then we are giving the method equal to flickr.photos.getRecent. This is our method that we are giving. And then I am writing my API key. And after the API key, I am telling that I want a format equal to JSON, and I am giving the value of no JSON callback equal to 1. So as you can see that in the browser we have already received some data. So this data has come in the JSON format, and this is the same data that we expect to receive if we run our application using our mobile device. So now let's change our application so that we can fetch data from the Flickr. So we go to the Flickr fetcher class which we had created earlier, and this time we will start by creating few constant. So private static final string tag equal to Flickr fetcher, because we will be using some logging. Then we can do private static final string API underscore key. Here I will store the API key that I have received, and yes. Now we will have to add the fetched items. So we will have to create a method which is adding these fetched items. So let us go down and add some another method to fetch these items. So public void fetch items try string URL equal to URI.parse. So first I will give the entry method or the entry point of the Flickr. So as you remember, the entry point was very simple, api.flickr.com/services/rest. I would like to create my URL from this URI that I am giving. and the way to do it is called dot build upon. And after that I would be adding what we call as query parameters. So my first query parameter is the method that I would be calling on Flickr. So if you remember, our method was the get recent method. So this is Flickr dot photos, and we had seen the complete path when we were clicking on the Flickr APIs. And then we will add another query parameter, but this time our query parameter is API underscore key, to which I will give the value of API key that we have just described. Then another query parameter for format, which is JSON for us. Then another query parameter, which is no JSON callback. Then we add some extras. And then we build by URL, we create a string. Now let's create a string. So get URL string URL. So in our JSON string now we will get all the data. If you see that from our get URL string, we have now got the JSON string. And then whatever we get, we are going to print out received JSON plus JSON string. The only thing left is to catch the IO exception that may occur. And as previously, we will do it log.e, not I. E stands for error, I stands for info. Failed to fetch. So that completes our Flickr fetcher class. Now we are going to fetch our items from the Flickr service. We have hopefully created the correct URL, so we should not get URL malformed exception. We have created using what we call as URI builder. This is a convenient class provided to us by Android system for creating properly uh, escaped parameterized URLs. Now, uh, after all this, we will have to just modify the async task to call the new fetch items. So we go to where we had defined our async task, that was in the photo gallery fragment. So yes, so here it was. We can now just remove all this code, all the try block, and can just simply say new Flickr fetcher dot fetch items. So now let's run our program, and hopefully in our logcat we will receive the JSON data that we were seeing when we ran it using the browser. Okay, so we are getting an error. Let us see why we are getting an error. So the error is in this, that oh, so we made a simple mistake. We gave it one while this has to be string. Let me do it as string and then run the program again. Hopefully this time we will get all the data. So it is saying that it failed to fetch. Let us check why it is giving us this error. So let us check if we have made any other mistake so that that error is coming. Okay, so yeah, so we are typing here the wrong names. Let's remove this E, and then now let's run our program. When we run our program, okay, so now we have received the JSON, as you can see here. Let me say Flickr. So now you can see that we did receive the JSON that we were earlier seeing. So we could see what we had learned earlier, but now we are fetching data from Flickr directly, and we are fetching this data into a JSON. So that looks very good. Now let us enhance our program by changing our app further. Now that we have received the JSON, what should we do with this JSON? Well, let's try to enhance our application so that we can display the photos. So the first thing we will do is we will be creating another class. So we would like to display the photo gallery. So let's call this class gallery item. And in the gallery item, we define few variables: private string m caption, that's with the photo; private string m id of the photo; and private string m url of the photo. And we simply currently override the toString method. Yes, we can now ask the Android to generate the getter and setters for them. So we go to generate getter and setter. Generate getter and setter. Then generate getter and setter methods. The From the generated methods, I'll just yes, and I will make sure that caption city URL. So now our basic gallery item is ready. The next step is to parse the JSON text. So as you can see that the JSON appears as key value pairs. So page 1, page is 10, per page 100, etc. We will have to parse this JSON. So let's go to our previous page where we were seeing the JSON, and here you can see it much easily. So this is the JSON's photos, page 1, 10, per page 100, total 1000. So it is returning us around 1000 photos. The first photo ID is this, that's the owner, that's the secret, etc. So all these details are given. We will have to now parse this JSON response. So let me also quickly show you how the same data looks in XML. So I will just remove the last two parameters, press enter, and now I have got an XML output. In fact, this is the ability of RESTful web services on why they are called RESTful, because the REST stands for representational state transfer. So this is now a different representation of the same data. From here we can see more clearly that each photo has an ID, an owner, a secret, a server, a farm, a title, and other fields. And then there are 10 pages here in this data, and each page has around 100 of the photos. So total we have 1000 photos. So now let's go back to our code and start writing some more code so that we can make sense of the JSON data that we are receiving. One way of doing it is to first create a Java object out of JSON objects. So there is already a library available. So now we can directly do JSON object, but then there are also other ways in which there are separate libraries which can also do that. So JSON object, just do JSON, let's call it body equal to new JSON object, JSON string. Then we just have to catch another exception, which is the JSON exception, JE, and I just type another log dot error message in case there is a problem, failed to parse. Now we have to write a method that pulls out this information for each photo, and make a gallery item for each photo and then add it to a list. So we will again be using the adapter, recycler, view holder, all that we have learned. So let's go back to the beginning and create another method. So let's create another method right here called parse item. So we do private void parse items list gallery item list, so list gallery item items and JSON object, JSON body, which it throws IO exception also throws JSON exception. Now JSON object for each individual object, photos, JSON body dot get JSON object, photos, and then JSON array, photon JSON array, photos JSON array equal to photos JSON object dot get JSON array photo. Now we have to write a for loop which will be parsing this item, then creating a gallery item for each JSON object. So for int I equal to 0, as we saw, I less than photo JSON array, maybe we can just call it a photo JSON array. Dot length I plus plus JSON object photo photo JSON object equal to array dot get JSON object at this given index. So we are retrieving each individual JSON object, and now we will be creating a gallery item for each one of them. Item dot set ID, so gallery item dot set ID photo JSON object dot get string ID, item dot set caption photo JSON object get string title. If not photo JSON object has continue. If photon JSON object does not have the last variable, then we just continue. Item dot set. Okay, so we need to go and change the set URL get string items dot add item. So this code we are using a get JSON object and get JSON array to navigate through the JSON object hierarchy. So Flickr does not always return this component for each image. So we add a check here to ignore images that do not have an image URL. So this parse method needs a list and a JSON object and update fetch items to call. So now we have to only update the fetch items to call this parse items method, and we'll have to return a list of gallery items. So this was our original fetch items, and we are now gonna make a small change. We will first define a list gallery items new array list here, and then after this line we will just say parse items and JSON body. So what we are now doing is that from the string we have created a JSON body, so we pass the JSON body into the parse items, and from parse items we have filled this items array, and then at the end of it we want to return this list, so we will change the void to list gallery item, and now we return our list of items. So yes, now let us run the code and see what happens. So everything is working fine. Now we will have to make sure that each of these gallery item can be viewed in our application. So far we were doing a lot of work on the background. Now we will have to go again to the foreground. So let's go to the fragment class, and we should get our recycler view to display a few things. So this was it, uh, where, where we were originally. Let's go to the, let's create a view holder. So in this case we will call it a photo holder. So private class photo holder extends recycler view dot view holder. Inside that we will have a text view because we want to see the captions, title, text view, have a public photo holder view, item view, super item view, then title text view equal to text view. Well, this will be a cast to item view. And then the another method that we always do, the bind gallery item. Public void bind gallery item, gallery item m title text view dot set text item dot toString. So we have added a view holder. Now we have to add an adapter. So let us start writing an adapter for our application after the view holder. So private class, we will call it photo adapter, and as usual it will extend the recycler view dot adapter photo holder, and then it will do the private list gallery item m gallery items, so we have to now implement all the missing methods here. So we do public photo adapter list gallery item, gallery items, and m gallery items equal to gallery items. And then we have to override the three methods that we always override. So let us just override all the three methods. On bind view holder, on create view holder, and get item count. So these three methods we have generated the code. In the on create view holder, we update it by creating a text view equal to new text view get activity, then return new photo holder text view. On bind view holder, so we will only use this method, and instead of this we will do gallery item gallery item equal to m gallery items dot get position photo holder dot oh, okay, so we have only saying holder dot find gallery item, and then here we don't have to return 0 but m gallery items dot size. So we have created just the standard adapter that we have been creating in other applications, uh, pretty much with the same type of code. And now all we have to do is we have to add the code to set up and attach an adapter when appropriate. So let's go back to the beginning of this code and maybe start adding some more code so that we can make use of this adapter. So private first is list gallery item m items equal to new array list this on create view, and we will just set up adapter. So here we will write the setup code for the adapter. Since this method is not yet there, so let's just quickly implement this method. Adapter if is added, then m photo recycler view dot set adapter new photo adapter m items. So the set adapter method which we have just added looks at the current model state of our program, mainly the list of the gallery items, and it configures the adapter appropriately on our recycler view. So we call setup adapter in the onCreate view, we call it here, so that every time a new recycle view is created, it is reconfigured with the appropriate adapter. Now that we are also using something called is added, so we are checking to see if is added is true before setting the adapter. So this confirms that the fragment has been attached to an activity. So this is the fragment, it has been attached to an activity, and in turn that get activity will not be null. So basically the is added ensures that. So yeah, so now this is basically done because fragments can exist without being attached to an activity. However, because we are using get activity in this, we need to make sure that our fragment is attached to an activity when this method is called. So yes, so far we have been working on setting up an adapter and view holder, and now almost all of our code is ready. We have to just do a little bit more work so that we can make use of what we have just done. So let us go to our method called fetch item tasks, and instead of this one not returning anything, we make it return gallery item list, and instead of this return null. Now we do it return the fetch items. So, yeah. Mm, so this is giving an error. Flickr fetcher dot fetch items, fetch items returning us a list, which is correct. Mm, So I'm trying to see that what is the problem in our code. Okay, so we have to also change here because they're saying void, 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 but this is no longer a void. So we have to do it list gallery item, and yes, so now our error is gone. So only thing that we are left with is to also override another method, override and protected void on post execute. So this is a method which takes us from the background to the foreground. So the on post execute, and this is list gallery item items, m items equal to items. So the on post execute will run in the main thread while the do in background runs in the background thread. Setup adapter. So first, so let's go through the changes that we have done. So first we changed the fetch item task 3rd January here, and this parameter refers to the type of result that is produced by the async task, and because our result changed, this has to be changed. Okay, and finally we added a post execute, and post execute accept as input the list that we fetched and return inside doing background, puts it in m items and updates our recycler use adapter.